I'm afraid.
Why don't you play us something, baby? Why don't you play us something? Why don't you play us something, baby?
Start? I don't feel so good.
It's fucking molten!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Movie Epidemic podcast. I'm your host, Buck Hollywood LeDuc, joined by, as always, Chadley J. Fox.
Why did you open the show like you were a hacky YouTuber going, "What's up, guys?"
No, that's my cool guy radio voice. Welcome
You're
to
right.
X92.
It's your hacky. I love when YouTubers say, "What's up, guys?" because you can't respond. It's YouTube.
Yeah, that is true. That is
It's
true.
YouTube.
And they don't. What I like though is they don't even leave you a space to respond because they know you can't respond. What's up, guys?
Man, I wish it was like Dora Explorer style. You know, when she asks a question and then there's
stares
straight
at
up
the screen for 45 seconds.
yeah, she just stares at you for a while. That's a good way to fill content, dude. Those Dora the Explorer people knew what they were doing. That's for damn sure.
Did they know? Did they know that that's what they were doing?
I think they must it must have been like I bet you the animators were like, we got to make a way to put one of these out every week, but make it super easy. And they're like, well, just what if she stares at the screen for 45 seconds every 3 minutes?
It only took me 5 seconds to forget that we have now a cue board where I can change to cameras. I can change cameras.
Yeah, hell yeah. If you're not on the YouTube, check it on out. Buck LeDuc is doing all the work over there. He's got
Dude,
the hot keys.
I got a switcher over here. What's going on? I got a fucking
got the
TriCaster over in this bitch.
Yeah, hell yeah. Which is going to be pretty pointless once we're back in the studio. If we're ever back in the studio, Plague World is seemingly never going to end.
Oh, dude, Plague World forever.
You know what? At this point, keep it going. At this point, just keep it going. I'm watching lots of movies. I'm getting so much exercise because I'm bored. I'm exercising because I'm bored,
Chad
and
is
I
the
want an
thinnest he's
excuse
ever
to listen
been.
to podcasts.
The thinnest he's ever been. All right.
Yeah, dude. Hey, robot boy.
Hey, you can now call me Brahms the Robot Boy, too.
No, I don't like that. Hey, Pocketspot 5000, I wanted to ask you a question because I think you might know the answer.
Yeah.
Is it true that Buck Hollywood LeDuc is a convicted felon for doing assaults in 48 states?
Well, here's the thing. If we're talking about crimes, doing assaults is a good one.
Yeah, but has he done it? That's my question. Is
Well,
Buck
I'm
done?
not at liberty to say. I'm not exactly a lawyer or any kind of representation of Buck Hollywood LeDuc.
I know that he would never tell me, but I think you're dumb enough to tell me.
Today on the show, you're going to be talking about Fantasy Island, a Blumhouse original. Absolutely, they did everything. They created this. They didn't steal it from anywhere. They did not buy IP. This is an original Blumhouse film from the creators of Get Out. And also...
from the producer of Get Out.
Oh, yeah, right. We're also going to be talking about some sort of fresh Benji Affleck movie called The Way Back, even though that's what like a million movies are called, so don't call your movie that. Also, we got a fresh Shudder original from Elijah Wood's production company, Spectre Vision. That's Daniel Isn't Real. And it's David Fincher month. So we're going to watch Zodiac.
Zodiac, baby. I'm excited to talk about that one. Thank you, Podcast Bot 5000. I hope you're doing well over there, and I hope you get the
He sounded
plague.
really, really sick.
Does he got bubonic, dude? Is he bubonicked up?
He might be boo-bombed. Yeah, I don't know.
He might be blue bombed. I don't know. The blue bombed. Yeah, so let's dive into it. Let's talk about Fantasy Island. So I have a lot to say about Fantasy Island, and here's why.
Why is that?
This movie is so fucking bad.
It's really, really bad, yeah.
It's so fucking bad, and here's why that pisses me off, is that the first 30 minutes isn't bad. And so, like, I'm watching the first 30 minutes of this movie, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. And then, like, an hour late, the problem is they set up the concept, and here's the concept for you. Essentially, this guy, played masterfully by Michael Pena, has this magic island where he makes people's wildest fantasies come through. Everything and anything is possible. How does he do it? Nobody knows. And so, like, the idea is that they say the most ominous shit ever, to the point where I can't believe nobody on the island was like, "Oh, okay, I'm out then." Where he was like, "Rule number 1: every every fantasy that you have cannot be shared. Rule number 2: every fantasy must be played out to its natural conclusion, no matter what." As soon as you say that, I'm out. I'm leaving.
Dude, why did he say no matter what into a camera? Crazy.
yeah, he looks directly into the camera. Unlike Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, he's doing it metaphorically. He's not actually looking into the camera, but he might as well be.
Yeah.
And then, like, the thing is that they set up the concept, and you know that it's going to get really weird and twisted. And I'm like, okay, I'm in, because this seems kind of cool.
Well,
like
it's based on the classic Fantasy Island from what was that, like the 60s or 70s or whatever?
That's the TV show.
Yeah, the 70s, I think it was from. And there was like Ricardo Montalban and like the little guy, the plane, you know, the plane. Yeah. When he's screaming about the plane. Yeah, the tattoo. And it was just like...
The tattoo's always wearing a tux in that show.
Yeah,
just
he was.
Always wearing a tux.
I think like the thing in the show was it was like mostly about sex, right? Because it was like it came on after The Love Boat, and it was like pretty like PG, like making sexual fantasies and like sometimes like doing some murders, but it wasn't like... This is like, they're like, oh, we have a scary doctor that murders.
Yeah, yeah, Dr. Torture. And then you have Michael Pena's character. And Michael Pena is so good at playing this character that it's sad. It's sad.
At Rourke?
Yeah, he's so good at playing like this smarmy, twirling his mustache bad guy. Like this like soft spoken but saying everything very in a roundabout way make sure that
he does cartoon villain it up a lot, yeah. Really cartoons it up. Cartoons it up.
And here's the thing, is that like they introduce the concept to you, and like and first thing you're gonna notice about this movie is that this movie looks fucking amazing. It looks so good. Like the use of colors here.
What's it look like?
Yeah, like the overhead shots are amazing.
Yeah, they do a lot of pretty good drone work, actually, to be honest. It's not the worst looking movie in the world. It's just like right out the gates, you're introduced to like so many characters, and half of them are terrible, dude.
So many. There are way too many. And here's my problem, is that you got Michael Pena going 10,000, and then you have these 5 teenagers in early 20s type caricatures. You know, you got your nerd, your jock, your gay nerd. Didn't mean to skip over that part. Your gay nerd, your jock, your slut, your virgin. You know, you got your cabin in the woods gang. And they're all coming in. They all have like exactly what you think they have to say. Like the jock walks into the room, and the skanky girl is like immediately like, "Hey, we should share a bed and fuck." You know, like pretty much everybody's saying absolutely nothing of value. They're all just saying, like, the jock guy might as well have just said, "I do push-ups" over and over again. That might as well have been his only line.
One of the nerd guys, at his first line, he's like, "Is this like LARPing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to kill myself." I'm like, I hope that guy dies soon. And then he doesn't die soon. It takes a really, really long time before he dies.
That's about the point where I was like, "Ooh, shit, I might turn this off."
I think if I was in a theater, I would leave the theater at that point.
And so then you have these 5 caricatures, and then you have just a girl who... the best way to describe the main character of this movie is that she is a girl.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I actually wrote down plain girl.
Yeah, she's just a girl. She's the most plain character in the world. And the problem is that the plain girl is the most interesting character in the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Simply can't have that. simply cannot have that. But let's go through the actors and actresses here.
Sure.
So the first thing you're going to notice is that they're all bad. Like Lucy Hale, whoo, not an acting bone in her body. Terrible. Maggie Q is fine, but again, plain. But then you have Jimmy Yang.
Oh, Jimmy
Yang is so bad at acting Like
What
he can't.
is this guy even from? I've seen him in something before.
I don't know. I don't know what he's from either. But he was so notably bad at acting that when the credits rolled, I was like, I got to get this guy's name so I can talk shit. He's so awful. Like everything he says is like every line that he says it matter of factly and like in segments. He's like, so did ya get lucky last night? And you're like, oh my god, you gotta cut this shit the fuck out right now.
He's in Silicon Valley as a main character, which explains a lot. He's also in Crazy Rich Asians. Basically, every Melissa McCarthy movie, The Happy Time Murders, Like a Boss, Life of the Party.
It's all coming full circle here, my friend.
Is he Melissa McCarthy's adopted son? Why is he in all of these movies? He's also in Patriots Day.
Yeah, he's terrible. And so then all of these people, this is where this movie gets completely disjointed, is because all of these people go off separately to start their fantasies.
Right.
And the two brothers, like the Jimmy Yang and the white guy, I don't like that they explain why the white guy and the Asian guy are brothers. I think it would have been funnier if they just left it, to be honest.
Yeah. I like when they try and do a diversity thing, but by doing that, like they make it a joke, you know?
Yeah. And so, like, I would have liked it if they just left it. If they were just like, yeah, we're brothers, and nobody mentioned it. You know, it's like when Peter Dinklage is in a movie and they don't mention his sides. That's the best.
Well, it's the best for you. I love when someone calls out freakiness.
And so these two guys, they go off to have their fantasy, which is to have it all. And they have this giant house and a lot of money and a bunch of strippers and models, and they're having sex.
It is PG-13, so you actually don't get to see Alejandro's giant dick or any of the
which
titties.
they mention Alejandro's giant dick a few times. Nah, show it though.
No show. If you're going to talk about it, gotta show. Unfortunately, that's how it works.
Gotta show.
Yeah, so that's like, okay, I guess we can work with that. But then you got like the jock guy, and his fantasy is to be in the army. I don't think that's anyone's fantasy ever.
Yeah, because then he gets into the shit immediately, and then he gets freaked out that he's in the shit.
Yeah,
this is what you asked for.
He's like, oh shit, I didn't actually want to be in the shit.
Yeah, and then Lucy Hale, her fantasy is to get back at a high school bully who's been kidnapped or something. And we'll talk later why this makes no sense, but essentially she saves her high school bully from being tortured by herself. Yeah. By her. And then is like, hey, I only tortured you a little bit, so trust me. Huh?
I only did a tiny, teensy tiny little bit of torture. Just such a little tiny amount.
And then the one girl, this is where the movie gets so fucked up and so disconnected, because the one girl's fantasy is to be married and to have kids. And that's going awesome for her. And then all of a sudden she's like, no, I want to change my fantasy. And the guy's like, no, you can't do that. And she's like, can't I? And he's like, joke's on you. You actually can.
You actually can do that, yeah.
You actually can. I know it was one of the rules I said you could not do, but you can do it.
As it turns out, here on Fantasy Island, we can make your fantasies come true and change.
Yeah, and guess what? Her fantasy is, get this, to be inside of a burning building.
Ah, yes.
With everybody else who's on the island.
No, that's not what she said. She just wanted to be in the building, and had happened to be all the people that were on the island were also in that event. And that's when she starts piecing it together. Oh, this isn't my fantasy. This is someone else's.
This is someone else's weird fantasy. And we'll get to that in a few minutes, because whoo, does that ever make sense?
No sense even a little bit.
But you know what's the worst part about this movie?
What's that?
Why? Oh, why? I thought about this for like an hour because I'm perplexed. I'm genuinely perplexed. Why is Michael Rooker in this movie?
I have literally no idea. He just shows up for a minute and then gets killed immediately.
He's like a private investigator who's been investigating the island, and he's living like a heathen, and then he just dies, and they're like, "Oh, that sucked," and they move on.
There's a
and
point where
never
there's a point where he's like, you need to take some of this water from this fountain that's making everybody's fantasies come true, and get it to like the FBI or something, and then they don't do that.
They drink it instead. And I'm like, it's like a 20-minute segment where Michael Rooker is like in the woods with like a machete, like wandering through the woods, trying to bring these girls to safety, which he never successfully does.
No, he does not. But that feeling when you find a filthy Michael Rooker in the woods, that feeling that you get. There's like, and that's not even like to begin with how many fucking crazy characters there are in this movie. There's like the muscle doctor that wants to like just torture people until they are tortured to death, and then the guy's
a cool black guy.
Cool black guy, yeah, that's part of the Maggie Q storyline. And then there's like the drug lord Alejandro, like the drug lord that wants to take over the mansion that the nerds are at.
With the bad mustache.
Then there's like all the army guys, which there's a lot, and they're doing like a David Wooderson bit at one point. There's one point where
yeah, you're right. They were doing a Wooderson bit. I was
where
like, what is this?
He's like, all right. Those girls, the high school girls, they never get older or whatever, that bit. And he's like, from that movie that came out last year.
Yeah, that's the part of the movie where I'm like, oh, okay, nobody here knows how to write dialogue, because they're in, like, when he goes into the army, he's transported back to 1998 so he can serve in the army with his dad. Like, that's his true fantasy. And then one of the guys, just to make it very clear what was going on, is like, I loved Dazed and Confused, the movie that came out last year, 1998.
Yeah. At that point, I'm like, I looked at the screen, I'm like, so obvious.
Like, why the fuck would you say
Why?
that?
So obvious.
And then Michael Rooker basically makes this movie unwatchable. And you know what he does to make it? First things first, you know how much I hate having to say that Michael Rooker is good in a movie?
Yeah.
Good news for me. Don't have to say that today. He's bad. But he ruins the movie by doing this thing that's so insane, where he's like, come with me, girls. And they're like, what's going on? He's like, I'm going to show you what happens on this island. Evil crystal.
Yeah.
Evil crystal?
It's an evil crystal.
Evil crystal. On the island, underneath the ground, magic, evil crystal. Are you As soon as the crystal showed up, I was like, might turn off. I might actually not finish this movie. I did, but I wanted to not, because as soon as I saw the magic crystal, I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. And yeah, Rooker is also another one of those characters who's just stating exposition.
Yeah.
He just goes out there and he's saying just direct sentences.
It's really like shockingly bad how much a dip in quality can take in a Blumhouse movie. Like, because I get they're trying to like take IP and make them sexy, and that's like the mileage is going to vary on that depending on who's making it. Like Invisible Man, great. This, what the fuck? What else do they got cooking? Candyman, I guess, is the next one.
Yeah, Candyman is the next one, and that one might rip. Like, who knows? You'll have to listen.
That one was, I think that one was like produced by, like written and produced by Jordan Peele. So that one actually might be good.
It might be good. Yeah, it might be good.
This one,
and then
it's just like
the big problem with this is because you have 5 stories going on at once. Every time they go to a new story, you go, "Oh yeah, I forgot about this." Because you haven't seen it in 15 minutes and you get so disengaged that you don't care anymore. And so the scenes have to be like 3 to 4 minutes at a time to make the movie even remotely watchable, which it kind of isn't, to make it even remotely watchable. And you just stop giving a shit about any of the characters because there's so much time in between each story.
Right. And now, like, in between all this that's happening, there's like a spooky ghosty, this like burnt guy that shows up, and you're like, and then like it takes a while, but I'm like, oh, that's Burnt Nick. I get it.
Yeah, and then here I've written in big bold letters, I've written black goo zombies, because then there's black goo zombies in this movie.
Well, that's once you get to the Cave of Death. So basically, what happens is the Maggie Q fantasy is her like neighbor dies in a fire, and the neighbor was also dating the plain girl. And also
he's dating the slutty girl.
The nerd guys was his roommate.
And the Patrick was the cop who said that they shouldn't go in until the police arrive or the firefighters arrive.
Right.
Yeah, and so they all had to do with this one specific event, everybody. And the slutty girl who liked this guy so much was so sad that she did not get to go on a date with this guy, that her fantasy is to get back at everyone involved in the fire.
Okay, but what does that have to do with her bully from school?
Nothing. And they even say that. Like, somebody's like, wait, why the fuck? At one point, she's like, why am I here?
And
she's
also,
like,
I have another
"You're
question
mean."
about that. In the Maggie Q fantasy, it makes like a fake version of her ex-husband or whatever. Why did they kidnap the actual bully? Like, why didn't the island make a fake version of the bully?
Oh no, because the bully was already on the island. Because that's what the first scene of the movie was, the bully trying to escape the island.
I don't get it though. Like I
don't get it either, dude. I just think, like, if you're a screenwriter, reread your script before you hand it in. I didn't think Jason Blum was in the business of taking first drafts.
Jason Blum is
like,
in the business, seemingly in the business of making old IP sexy.
Yeah, like when you do something like this, especially with an IP, because now this IP is now dead forever. Like,
kind of,
like
yeah.
it was something that you maybe could have done something with, but now it's dead forever. You can't fuck with this now. You need to look at a script when you accept it and say, okay, before I move forward with this, is this comprehensible?
Well, that's the problem too, because like Fantasy Island is like a pretty good idea for something like a Saw. Like, you know, like I feel like they could have sawed this up, but they went for the PG-13 route, and like none of it's scary and nothing happens and none of it makes sense.
Yeah, and like they say at the beginning of the movie that there's 2 rules, and the rules are, you know, yada yada yada, whatever. But as you watch the movie, you realize there's way more rules, and they're not telling you them. What exactly are the rules?
What are the rules?
What are the rules? There is 45 rules in this movie, and none of it makes sense. It's fountain rules, dude. It's not like it's fountain rules, which basically just means there's no rules.
Absolutely. Well, it does come out of a fountain. Boy, this was a bad film.
Extremely bad film. I'm gonna plop it at the legendary 1 star, not a half star, but a 1.
We didn't even really cover the conclusion, but they kind of just like fight her to death and throw her into the well or whatever.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
It felt like the end of like Suicide Squad or something.
Yeah, there's like one part where she's like, my fantasy is that you get to stay with Nick forever. Okay, I'm going to stop you there, okay? Because that's the dumbest part of the whole movie, and here's why. Because the island knows what your actual fantasy is, and there's no way that's your Look, at one point it stops becoming about fantasies, and it just becomes genie wishes. It just makes no fucking sense. 1 star, very bad.
1 star. Also, the Jimmy Wang character is revealed to be Tattoo at the end.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
He's on the dock and he like shows that he has a tattoo of a tattoo on his chest. Oh my god!
And that's like, look, that's a fun thing because earlier in the movie, they keep calling him T, and he doesn't like it, which is very funny because in Fantasy Island, Tattoo in fact did not enjoy being called Tattoo.
All right.
Begged that everybody call him by his real name, which was Higgins.
Very cool. All right, what do we got next there, Chadley?
You wanna pop over to our good buddies over at Shudder?
Absolutely.
Man, Shudder, they know what they're doing.
Well, they know what to buy, and they know to buy from anything, apparently, that Elijah Wood is producing over at Spectre Vision, because they also did Mandy, they also did Color Out of Space, and now they've done this.
And
isn't that crazy? No, like, isn't that crazy that Elijah Wood took all of his Lord of the Rings money, and he's like, I'm going to make horror movies now.
But only the best horror movies of the given year that they're released. Daniel Isn't Real is fucking awesome. This movie is so good.
It did, to me, I'm like watching it and I'm like, oh, this is very much a Chadley movie. Because right out the gates, there's like a mass shooting. And like before I even turn this on, I'm like, oh, this movie is going to make me feel bad, I bet. Because Chadley 5-starred it in his written review. It's going to make me feel bad, and right out the gates, it made me feel very bad.
Yeah, you know that you're going to be uncomfortable if Chadley 5-starred something. Because this is, once again, I've said it before, I talked about it with The Platform, I talked about it with The Lighthouse. This type of discomfort is exactly my shit.
Wow, extremely your shit, hey?
I love this type of social yet somewhat paranormal discomfort. And like,
Somewhat paranormal.
Yeah, it's somewhat paranormal. I like a movie like this because it doesn't explain the rules, but unlike Fantasy Island, it does it on purpose to make you uncomfortable. Whereas Fantasy Island just not written. Nobody wrote that movie. Yeah, so let's dive into this. So Daniel Isn't Real is a movie about a guy who rediscovers his imaginary friend from when he was a kid, and realizes that his imaginary friend was kind of real, but only sort of. And so him and his imaginary friend in their college days use the fact that no one else can see his imaginary friend to fuck women and to cheat on tests.
Yeah, it's like that movie How High, but instead of a guy that you smoke out of his ashes that appears to give you the answers, it's a imaginary friend that has written the answers on his body.
It's actually a lot like Red Man's How High.
Yeah, it's quite a bit like Red Man's How High.
Now that you mention it. However, I think this is a lot better than How High. And here's what makes it good.
I'm going to have to disagree with that.
Here's what makes this movie good. Oh, you think How High is the best film of all time?
It's up there, yeah. It's really good concept, smoking your buddy's ashes.
Apparently, you take two good actors, you force them to pop out kids, and guess what those kids become? Also good actors.
Yeah, this is fun. I'll take famous children for 300, Alex. This is a Jeopardy question right here.
So the movie stars Miles Robbins, who is Tim Robbins' son, and Patrick Schwarzenegger, who is Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. And here's the thing, is that they're both extremely good for different reasons. And that's why the dynamic that they have and the back and forth that they have is so good.
Well, I do like that you have a thin Arnold and a handsome Tim Robbins.
Dude, Thin Arnold was having me laughing because here's the thing. He looks so much like his father, but skinny.
Yeah, very thin. Rail thin, dude. He didn't do a single steroid.
Yeah, he's never taken a single bump, dude. He's fucking tiny.
Absolutely rail thin. Just like, because his mother was like related to John F. Kennedy or whatever, right? So he's got like that Kennedy blood in him, but also Arnold blood.
Yeah. So he's rail thin, extremely but still handsome. Got that giant jaw.
Extremely handsome.
Yeah, he's good looking, extremely tall, and real skinny. Yeah. But then you got Miles Robbins over here looking like fake ass Jughead, which I also like.
Dude, he's like because Tim Robbins is arguably an ugly man, but when you get that Susan Sarandon genes in there, you got yourself a handsome Tim Robbins.
You got yourself a handsome Tim Robbins. That's absolutely correct. This movie's got a DNA intro though, which we haven't seen in a while.
Oh man, that brought me back to the old school Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, am I watching an X-Men film?
Damn, did Sam Raimi make this? Did Sam Raimi or Bryan Singer make this?
And then you look at the producing credits and you're like, shit, no, it was Elijah Wood,
I guess. It was extremely Elijah Wood and Adam Egypt Mortimer.
Yeah. Then like this movie is about insanity, and it's like walking the line between insanity, because this movie asks you the question, like the fact that the movie is called Daniel Isn't Real, I actually almost don't like that. I almost think the movie should be called Is Daniel Real? ? Because that's the whole question, and that's the question you'll be asking yourself from point A to point Z. And let me tell you something, you're never given a clear-cut answer, sort of, but not really. You can take everything in this. You can't take anything in this movie at base value. And that's what I love so much about a movie like this, is that you can take, like, you can just look at this as a base narrative, but it's a lot more than that. This is a brain fuck, dude. This is a mind meddler.
Well, I like this movie for the most part, even though it does get a little far-fetched. I do think that it does a very good job of, like, illustrating kind of the chaos that comes with like a schizophrenia or any sort of thing like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love anybody who's willing to use this kind of visual style, because it's a ballsy visual style that sometimes doesn't work. But the hefty use of neon,
Yeah, the vaporwave aesthetic.
yeah, when done right, man, holy shit!
It is a great looking movie, and I love a scene where like Miles Robbins is like trying to do something, and you got Thin Arnold just screaming in the background. It's just
yeah.
it's an illustration of insanity that I think is like very, very well done, and that's what I liked the most about this movie. The rest of it, it's like, sure, it's an interdimensional imaginary friend that murders people. Cool.
Yeah, but I almost didn't even take it at that. Take it for that. Like I took it more as
But that's
like it's
what it is, though. I know you're
base
saying
level.
that it isn't that, but that's what it is. It's an interdimensional being. It says that it's an interdimensional being at one point.
Yeah, but I just feel that there's so much more. There's so much more that you as an audience member could clue into, to the point where maybe it isn't that. Like, and I know we could go back and forth about this all day long. But ultimately, you can take this movie 1,000 different ways, and I don't think any answer is wrong. It's like the Lighthouse,
there's only two ways you can take it. Actually, it's that he either has an advanced form of schizophrenia that's making him want to kill people, or it's an interdimensional vampire. So it's like,
or it's the devil. Yeah, and there's like
okay.
even like
That's the same as an interdimensional vampire, though.
Yeah. What's cool about this movie too, though, is that like there is like the scenes that actually take place in Tim Robbins' head, and there's neon there, but there's also neon in other sets of this movie, like that are even just in the real world. Like his girlfriend Cassie's apartment is completely neon set, and I'm like, holy shit, that looks awesome! Like the vibrancy, it looks great. Yeah. I think there's something that we need to discuss about this movie.
What's
because
that?
we talked about the fact that the actors are good, but Patrick Schwarzenegger is so fucking good. Like, to the point where I was shocked.
You know what I think we need to do? We need to have a new American Psycho with Patrick Schwarzenegger, because he's got some heavy Patrick Bateman vibes.
I agree. And like the way that he plays like the psychopath in this movie, it's creepy. It's unsettling.
Yeah.
You know what I would like, though?
What's that?
Let's get Patrick Schwarzenegger into a Terminator movie and have him be the new Terminator, and have him fight his dad. That's what I want.
Here's the thing. Don't need any more of those movies. I don't need a single other second of Terminator in my life ever.
Neither do I, but if you do that, I'm in.
I guess I would be in also. I guess, yes. If that was simply the case, I guess I would also be in.
This movie also, like, it reminded me of like a less subtle version of like Fight Club. Like it's a little bit more nuanced than Fight Club, but it's quite a bit less subtle.
It does. It definitely feels like kind of like a Fight Club adjacent. There's a lot more of just like, there's a lot of intense violence in this that just comes out of nowhere that I really like when he cuts the girl's throat that one time, but it was just like imaginary. And there's like, what I really liked though was when they go into like the brain of the Patrick Schwarzenegger character, and he's got like all those crazy aliens, rubber aliens. They look like Tom Savini, but like rubber. Like, there's so much practical effects that are very scary.
It looks like something that Clive Barker started on, but then he died, so he couldn't finish them.
Yeah, that's why I called it Tom Savini, but rubber, because Tom Savini would use like pumpkins and stuff as skulls.
Yeah,
but this is like that, but rubber.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I also love that he's got the Museum of Death and all the murder weapons that he has used inside of his head. That's fucking, it's so, there's just so much, and there's a lot of abstract filmmaking going on here. I don't think the average person is going to watch this and enjoy it, you know?
Why is that?
And I think, I think that there's a lot to take in for a movie like this.
Too
that
much
I think
advanced filmmaking, Chedley. Too much for you. Up you and your ivory advanced filmmaking tower.
correct. I think it is like that though. I think it's like The Lighthouse. I think it's too much to take in, and too many general audience members are going to take this at base value and not consider the different like metaphors and similes that are in this movie.
The metaphor that he has schizophrenia, or the metaphor that he has a fucking devil in him. What do you mean, Chadley? There's only two. You keep saying that there's a lot, but there's not. There's two.
There's so many different ways that you could take this. This could like none of the events could have even happened in this movie. This could be completely thought up. This could be completely made up. In his head.
then it's back to him having schizophrenia, Chadley.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that is really what it is about.
Say some more. I bet I can put them in two categories. Supernatural or schizophrenia, Chadley? Which side would you like to put it in?
What if it's both? Like, that's the thing. Is these are the things you have to consider. Like, it might be both.
Okay.
It might be both. Like, these are the things you have to consider.
What are you talking about, Chadley? You're just saying that this movie's good because it's confused you?
No, it's not. I'm not confused by the movie, but it definitely had me thinking about the different events throughout the movie, what they pertained.
The two different events. The whole time you're like, damn, there's two different events that could be happening here. This is fucking crazy. I can't believe Adam Egypt Mortimer could have wrote this like this with two different outcomes, two different metaphors. Holy shit, I've never seen two metaphors in a movie before.
Correct. I'm also really, really dumb, though. Back on topic of the movie, though. There's one thing that this movie has that I love so much, and that is I love like a choral or a choir orchestration.
Choral.
Choral. I love a choir orchestration. Like in a horror soundtrack, and if you're on the Patreon, you'll hear me talk about that a lot more.
Oh, hell yeah, dude! I know exactly what you're talking about.
But like having the choir singing in the background is so unsettling and creepy with like organs and shit. You know?
Yeah, dude, I love when you get an organ on a track, dude. When you get an organ on the track,
get an organ on a track. And here's the thing: is that at the end of the day, we could say all we want about like the layers of this movie, but at the end of the day, this movie's also sports entertaining.
Yeah, that's some real sports entertainment right there. A lot of violent banging.
Yeah, lots of Schwarzenegger just railing a girl in the middle of the sewers. Perfect.
Nightmares. A lot of nightmare sequences.
Yeah, dude. A lot of
lot of mass shooting imagery. Well, some mass shooting imagery, right? I know it reminds you of your fantasy island, right? Where you're doing a mass shooting. When you go onto a fantasy island and Michael Penn is like, you are the mass shooter then. Let me lead you to your fantasy. It has to lead to a natural conclusion, a murder suey.
No, my fantasy is to watch a movie with Michael Pena in it, but the natural conclusion is that Michael Rooker also has to be in it.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to give Daniel Isn't Real a 4 stars, but I do think it's very good.
I like it a lot. I'm going to give it a 5. I loved it.
All right, we're now crossing the 40-minute mark, and we've only talked about 2 movies. So what do we got next? Guess Zodiac.
Let's talk about Zodiac. David Fincher, baby. So Zodiac rules, man. I hadn't seen it since like maybe high school, and there's a lot of things that I straight up didn't remember, both about the Zodiac case and about the movie itself. But it's good. However, Zodiac is a pretty slow burn.
It's quite long.
Yeah, it's 2 hours 45 minutes, and they definitely take their time to get to the point sometimes. But I also think that that's good.
It's like nearly an hour before the Mark Ruffalo character shows up. And that's
Correct.
like a pretty important part of the movie.
Yeah. But the movie is at first about Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr. Then it becomes about only Mark Ruffalo for a little while. Then it's about Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo. Then it's about Jake Gyllenhaal and Mark Ruffalo. And then it's just Jake Gyllenhaal.
Well, I think another thing about this movie is that it takes place over like so many years. Like sometimes there's like 7-year time jumps and stuff, and you're like, well, they all look the same though. But like,
yeah,
there's just a lot of like, it pushes itself forward very fast a lot of times, even though the runtime is so bloated as it is.
Yeah, like it does feel, yeah, like even though it is a slow burn, it does feel like suddenly you're like, oh shit, it's 2 years later. What the fuck? 2 years? What do you mean 2 years later? We're still not getting anywhere with this?
Well, that's the thing that I think it illustrates very well because it is based on a real case. That like investigations sometimes fucking take really really long, dude. Because like especially in like like it was like the late '60s, '70s, up through the '80s, right?
Yeah, that they did this investigation,
And it's like
and
if the trail goes cold, sometimes it's like years before you make a break because you got to get like fingerprints and shit. Like they didn't even have. That's why like Mindhunter is so good. That's David Fincher's Netflix show, and it's like the scene where they're talking to John Carroll Lynch.
who's looking real bad in this movie?
That's what all of Mindhunter is. It's all of that scene for 2 seasons.
Fuck, that sounds phenomenal. Because that's like maybe one of the best scenes in the entire show. This movie is like it sets up the Zodiac killer right away, and that's what, like, one thing I do love about this movie is it doesn't fuck around with that. It sets up the Zodiac killer right away, so immediately your brain is like, who did it? Who was it? Who did it? Who done did it? And people have wanted to know forever who the Zodiac killer is. But here's the thing: if we found out who the Zodiac killer was, it would just be a name. Like, we wouldn't care. Like, if they're like, yeah, turns out the Zodiac killer was this guy, Martin Nathaniel, you'd be like, okay, I don't know who the fuck that is.
Daniels.
Yeah. Daniel isn't real is his name. Isn't real is one word.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and this movie, like, one thing I do love about this movie is like the very beginning when the Christians are calling the TV station and they're like, the city is full of Satanists running around.
Well, yeah, that's
So
actually
really,
true.
Yeah, it really sets up like that really neurotic, like, religious surge that happened in like the early 70s, like as a response to the hippie days of the 1960s.
Yeah, dude. And one thing you'll know for sure is that I hate hippies. Anyway, so this basically what happens is they get this letter. They work at a newspaper in San Francisco, and you've got Robert Downey Jr. with an ascot as like one of the head reporters there. Then you have Jake Gyllenhaal as like the cartoonist. And they get this thing. It's like a cipher. They're like, put this on the front page or I'm going to murder 12 people. Hey, it's me, the Zodiac Killer. And that's where it all kind of begins.
Yeah, and then they figure out the cipher, and it turns out the cipher wasn't his name. It was basically him being like, I fucking got you. I'm still going to kill people.
Yeah, dude. And there's so many times where the Zodiac Killer is so demanding about stuff, and then immediately he's just like, well, I'm actually going to kill these people anyway.
Yeah, he's like, if you don't do this, I'm gonna kill a busload of kids. And they're like, all right, we better do it. And he's like, just do it anyways.
You know what I like though?
What's that?
The Jake Gyllenhaal character at the beginning of the movie, he's doing like a little kid voice. He's like, "Hey, it's me, Jake Gyllenhaal." And then as time passes, he's like, "Hey, it's me, Jake Gyllenhaal," like going back to his normal voice.
Yeah, and then by the end of the movie, he's like, "Hey, it's me, Jake Gyllenhaal."
Hey, it's me, Luca Magnotta.
It's me, Jake Gyllenhaal, Magnotta. Exotic.
Exotic.
Yeah, exotic. It's just it's, even though like the plot itself is so slow, and this is why David Fincher's good. The plot itself is so slow,
Does anyone
but
call
the dialogue,
names?
the dialogue is fast paced.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
which is like such a crazy thing for a 2 hour and 45-minute movie to have dialogue that fast paced and still be able to fill 2 hours and 45 fucking minutes.
Yeah, it's like an Aaron Sorkin thing, but good.
Yeah. I actually wrote that down. I said Sorkin, like,
but good. Here's the thing: if David Fincher wrote it, it's better than anything Aaron Sorkin has ever touched.
But didn't Sorkin do Social Network?
I think he did actually. Yeah.
I think that's a combo, dude. The thing about this is that the Zodiac Killer was so clever that he knew that the police were going to look for patterns, and he's intentionally breaking them.
Right.
So, like, every time he murders a person, the police are like, "Oh fuck, didn't see that coming, not one bit." And he's like, he keeps doing that like over and over again. Like when he kills the cab driver, it's like there's no reason he should have done that. He just did it. He just liked to kill people.
Right.
Yeah, Yeah. And this movie, it does a really good job of something, and this is going to sound weird, but it does a really good job of showing you that Jake Gyllenhaal, like the actual guy, the cartoonist, was not interesting. But they make you interested in what he's doing, but he himself as a character is not interesting.
Mhm.
And they, like, there's a line in this that I'm like, oh shit, that's so illustrative, where Robert Downey Jr., who is interesting, is like, Paul Avery, is like, what do you like? What do you do? What do you do in your spare time? He's like, I like to read. I love books. And he's like, that's the same thing twice, my guy. He's
Yeah.
not interested. Like, he's not an interesting guy. He just found out something really interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know like what Paul Avery was like as an actual person, but I do think that Robert Downey Jr. was like, I'm just going to do Hunter S. Thompson for this, and David Fincher was like, okay, sure.
And then Kevin Feige saw this movie and was like, can you do that same thing, but for Iron Man? And he's like, I'll do it for 15 years. I don't give a shit. The
Yes, he
same
did.
character over and over again.
The Mark Ruffalo character. Did you know that cop is like the basis of what Dirty Harry and that Steve McQueen movie Bullet?
That's interesting because don't they go to see Dirty Harry in
They
this
do,
movie?
and that's a funny little thing because it's based off that character, that cop. Because that guy's like a famous cop in San Francisco.
That's actually really, really interesting. What I find so interesting about this movie, though, is that you get people like Downey Jr., you get Gyllenhaal, you get Ruffalo.
It's an
These are
insane
all
cast.
actors that are, yeah, it's a good cast. These are all actors that I think are all good. But then you give them someone like Fincher who can direct them, and their chemistry is insane, interchangeably insane. Like Gyllenhaal and Downey, brilliant chemistry. Gyllenhaal and Ruffalo, brilliant chemistry. Ruffalo and Downey, brilliant chemistry. How is it that good?
Well, I mean, they ended up working together in the Marvel universe, so
Yeah, and their chemistry in the Marvel universe is probably some of the best in that entire universe. Why? Because it was created by David fucking Fincher.
yeah. So then you've got like the main suspect, John Carroll Lynch, and he's just ripping out of control, dude. It's like it's crazy how good John
he's
Carroll
awesome.
Lynch is.
Yeah, he's wicked in this movie, dude. It's like I love a good skullet, and he rolls up rocking the skullet,
Dude, and
looking
then
like shit.
when they go to his house and it's filled with squirrels everywhere.
Yeah, he's eating squirrels. It's a
Yum.
crazy movie. Oh man, this movie, it's also weird because David Fincher is crazy. Like, we all know that. Like, he's an insane
Sure.
person. And so David Fincher was like, if I'm going to make a movie that takes place in the 70s, I'm going to film and edit it like it takes place in the 70s. Huh? That's crazy. Because this movie does not look like it was made in 2007. There's like weird fades and like abrupt scene endings that just there isn't in movies anymore. This movie looks like it was made in the 70s.
It
It's
is
crazy.
very specific looking. I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she said, just by watching it for like 2 minutes, she's like, "Oh, this is a good movie. I can tell that this is a good movie," and it is.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that look, I don't want to spoil it, but this movie came out 15 years ago, and not to mention this case has been closed since '91. So I'm going to spoil it. One thing I completely forgot about this thing is that the Zodiac killer got away with it.
Yeah.
I did not remember that. I did not know that he just straight up just got away with it.
Yeah, I think that's why it is a fascinating case, because he left so much evidence, and yet he never got caught.
Like,
And they were like so close, like maybe a few times, but you don't even
the
know
thing is,
about that.
There's so many different theories about the Zodiac killer. Like, some people believe that the Zodiac killer killed the Black Dahlia. Did you know that?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
And if it's true, it's bananas.
There's a
if
lot
it's
of-
true, it's crazy.
yeah. There's a lot of like especially since there was so many serial killers around that time in like the Southern California area, like the Riverside Killer and all those guys.
Bundy was coming up.
They always like to connect like the Zodiac to those, and it's like, well, maybe, but like I think you're stretching a little bit.
Well, I mean, there's only like 4 confirmed Zodiac kills, but there is probably like at least 100.
Yeah, that's possible, I guess.
Dude just loved to kill, and he told people, he was like, "It's my birthday. I want to kill somebody on my birthday.
Yeah, I love killing.
I love killing on my birthday." I love this movie. This is one of my favorite movies. I'm gonna plop it at a 5. Giving a lot of 5s out today.
Yeah, this one is a 5. Very easily. It's extremely well made. It's long, but it's worth it. It doesn't actually really feel that long either because there is just so much going on constantly.
It's also on Amazon Prime.
It sure is. That's where I watched it.
Go check it out on Amazon Prime. What are we talking about next? Oh, right. I got to go back because I saw the way back.
Yeah.
Like 4 weeks ago.
Wow, damn. He was just flipping pages there. Flip some more pages there. You're on full screen there. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to flip through my 3 pages of notes on Candyman.
Hell yeah, dude. So the way back. Okay.
Here's the thing. It's fine, I guess. It's okay. It's forgettable.
It's like I watched this movie. I'm like, I've seen this movie before. And
Me
you know
too.
why I've seen this movie before? Because it's a sports movie, and it's like not even really that different. The thing that's different is the fact that Ben Affleck plays an alcoholic. But I think I've even seen that. Seen that.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure I've seen that before too.
That's the plot of the Mighty Ducks. I just realized this is the fucking Mighty Ducks.
It's the Mighty Ducks, but for some reason they talk about Jesus way more.
Oh, they talk about Jesus a lot. This is from our boy Gavin O'Connor, who made Miracle, like that movie Miracle, and it's also that. It's also that.
He also made The Accountant, which we love, and Pride and Glory, which we also love.
Absolutely.
But then here's the thing: is that the first thing you're going to notice about this movie? Ben Affleck's just playing himself.
Yeah, well, he was born to play puffy-faced, red, alcoholic dads. Not Batman. He was not born for that. He trained himself into being Batman, but you know what he was born to play? Puffy-faced, alcoholic dads.
Yeah, dude, he comes complete with alcohol head.
Yeah, he got that alcohol head built in. You don't even have to CGI that alcohol head.
Yeah, they put out a casting call and they're like, actor to play main protagonist, looking for guys with alcohol head, and Ben Affleck circled the shit out of that audition.
He's like, alcohol head?
Yeah, like it almost seems autobiographical because this is kind of what happened without the kid death. Autobiographical, like without the kid death, like this is pretty much what happened to Ben Affleck. He became a huge alcoholic, and Jennifer Garner left him because he was a huge alcoholic.
Right. It also stars Al Madrigal from The Daily Show or whatever the fuck. Remember when he was like an anchor on The Daily Show?
No, I don't even know who that is, to be honest. Who does he play in this movie?
He plays the assistant coach.
Oh, yeah. I like that guy, actually.
Al Madrigal of The Daily Show fame.
There is a lot of... The thing is, there's a lot of things that I do like about this movie. I like that Ben Affleck is swearing up a storm, but what I like more than Ben Affleck swearing up a storm is the fact that because he's the head coach for a basketball team at a Catholic high school, that they have to have a priest with him at the games, and the priest getting uncomfortable about him throwing around fuck words.
Hell yeah, dude. You know what I liked about this movie is that when you see Ben Affleck pounding back 12 beers, I'm like, he looks like he could pound back 12 beers.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. This movie, it taught me the freezer trick, which I've been doing since I saw this movie, where while you're drinking a beer, you put another beer in the freezer to make it ice cold.
Yeah,
been doing it.
Yeah, that's a classic alcoholic trick.
Yeah, dude. I've been doing it. I might be an alcoholic now. You know what else is crazy about this movie? I've got a really hot take here, and you're going to call me real crazy when I say this, but this movie also is the same plot as 8 Crazy Nights.
Is it?
The Adam Sandler movie.
It's
that, but instead of talking about being Jewish, they're talking about being Catholic.
The last time I saw that was when I was 14, and I saw it in a theater. So,
yeah,
it's the last time I saw that movie.
That's probably good because it is very, very bad. And I like that Ben Affleck keeps apologizing for cursing in this movie, but then just keeps doing it.
Yeah, dude. I found some beer cans in your office. That's my Al Madrigal voice.
Yeah, I found some beer cans. Don't let it happen again. I like that. Like the second time he finds beer cans in his office, he's like, "I have to report it. We have a what is it?" He says something crazy. He's like, "We have like a no nonsense rule about this. Like one strike, you're out type thing." But then like Ben Affleck could have buried that guy. He could have been like, "No, I already found the beer cans," and said nothing. He already found the beer cans. Yeah. And The thing about this movie is that it does do a good job investing you in the success of the team, but doesn't invest you in any of the players. Like, it feels like they try to go into some of the players, and then they're like, "Fuck it, we just got through Ben Affleck's shit," and the movie's
they have like the shy kid that he's like, "Hey, you got to speak up," and he's like, "Can you hear me now, bitch?" And then like shit like that. And then there's like the one kid that he kicks off the team, and then he's like, "I gotta be on the team. I can't live without being on the team." And then they put him back on the team. I live to ball.
And then there's the one kid who's like, "My dad never comes to the game," and then at the end of the movie, he just comes to the game.
Sure.
It's like, what is that? What is that even about? How did he do it? Why is he there?
I guess they're trying to, but again, it's not really like a team. It's not really like a team one. It's more about the Ben Affleck character being an alcoholic.
Because like halfway through this movie, they introduce like this crazy thing that I'm like, whoa, what's this about? Where you find out that his kid died of cancer.
Yeah.
And the movie becomes about kid cancer for a while.
Ugh, dead kids. Chadley loves it.
Kid cancer, and you're like, okay, I get it, and it's sad, and like it does happen. I get it.
Nobody can kill a boy like Chadley.
But why is this in here? It's so unfitting to the rest of the movie. Like, it almost feels like it has nothing to do with it. Jack Cunningham barely seems fazed by the fact that his kid has died of cancer. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I also think this movie does not do a good job of illustrating alcoholism.
Not really.
Because he just kind of has it the entire movie, and everything seems to be going fine. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, I got to go to rehab. And it's like, you seem to be doing all right, though. You're doing fine.
Well, not really. He crashes into that boat, and then he walks into some stranger's house like he's Gerdish. Remember our buddy Gerdish? When he walked
right, he does.
One time our buddy Gerdish, after a long night of drinking, was walking to his buddy's house and went into the basement, laid down on the couch, and in the morning he a dog was licking him. He's like, wait a minute, Brody doesn't have dogs. And then there's this guy that comes down the stairs. He's like, I'm not going to call the police, but you need to leave my house right now. And he was like rubbing his eyes, and he's like, you need to leave right now. He's like, yeah, give me a minute here, bud. And that's what that reminded me of.
You know what this movie does do really well?
What's that?
Ben Affleck is good.
Ben Affleck is good, of course. He's a good actor.
Ben Affleck is a good actor, and he's good at playing this character because I think it's close to the chest for him.
Yeah, that might be true.
And so he's so good at playing this character. So you actually do give a shit about his character.
It's just no one else that I care about.
Yeah. And then here's the thing. I think Ben Affleck might have been losing the Batman bulk while filming this movie. Cause sometimes he's real big.
Sometimes he's big.
Sometimes he's not.
Sometimes he's a little tiny.
Oh yeah, and then the movie it goes on the classic cancer angle where they're really just trying to juice you for everything that you're worth.
Love a juicing.
Yeah, they love to just go down that path. It is a semi-inspirational watch. You feel fine when you're watching it, and you're like, oh yeah, this is fun. You know, it's I'm invested, and then the movie ends, and you're like, I'm gonna forget about that movie in 5 seconds. I barely remember anything about this movie. I'm really grasping at straws here.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's okay. Fine. 2 stars from Buck Hollywood LeDuc. Two of them.
I'm gonna give it 3. I think it's plenty watchable, but not that good.
It just seems like something I've seen. Just seems like something I've seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing to see here, folks. Move along. Nothing to see. Hey, Podcast Bot, which one is it? 8,000? Hey, Buck, how's it going?
What's up? What's up, dude?
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something.
What's that?
Can you imagine, just for a second, just close your eyes, just imagine a movie that exists that's the most forgettable horror film of all time about an unshowered, filthy heathen that crawls out of the walls of a house.
Dude, when he's got that little beard poking out of the mask, dude, that's the kind of content I love.
I'm talking about The Boy. I'm talking about a movie that came out 10 years ago that nobody liked and nobody saw. And guess what? They made a sequel.
Wow, they made more of them?
Why? Not sure. It's a really
Unbelievable.
weird and fucked up movie, and they made a sequel because I want to reiterate it. Nobody saw it.
And nobody liked it.
So that's what we're talking about next week. We're talking about Brahms, the Boy 2. That's the name of the boy. Brahms.
Why not just call it The Boy 2? Because it came out so long ago that people don't remember?
Yeah, you got to remind us what the kid's name is.
Call it Brahms or call it The Boy 2. You can't call it Brahms the Boy 2 with a fucking
really wish
with a fucking colon.
Yeah, I wish that they do that more often in film. Like I wish there was like Jurassic World 3 Owen, because I don't remember what is it. Owen? Is it Owen? Might be something else. Because I forget it. Forget all about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Guess what else we're watching, Buck?
What's that?
Do you like writer director Xavier Dolan, the 23-year-old gay man who makes movies about himself?
I actually do.
Me too. We're watching The Death and Life of John F. Donovan.
Been wanting to watch this
starring
one for a while, so let's fucking pop it on.
Jacob Tremblay and who's that other guy?
The guy
Kit
from
Harington.
Yeah, the guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's from Game of Thrones, I think. Kit Harington, Susan Sarandon's in there.
Ooh,
Natalie
hell yeah.
Portman. Natalie Portman, who you know to be my favorite actress of all time.
Okay, sure.
What about a little bit of Amazon original? Do you like an Amazon
No,
Prime
I actually
original?
don't want to watch this one. This one, like, you changed your pick like 4 times, Chadley, and I was like, when is he going to land on something? And he landed on the worst one possible.
I landed on this one because I watched it and then was like, I'm not just going to watch this and have it not be for work.
That's annoying.
They're talking about Brittany runs a marathon.
Now I gotta watch a really shitty Jillian Bell movie. Cool. Fun.
Brittany runs a marathon.
Fun.
And then, oh boy, does David Fincher month ever roll on with the girl with the dragon tattoo? The James Bond movie that David Fincher made.
Good film.
If you're on the Patreon as well, we got Garbage Epidemic coming up this week. Exit 33, Tommy Brunswick, director of Mr. Jingles. He made more.
We'll see if you're able to listen to that one.
He made more. And then, of course, if you're on the Patreon, you also have Trek Epidemic coming out on Friday, season 1, episode 7 of The Next Generation, and that is called Lonely Among Us. Check it out.
I actually think that this week, Candyman is coming out, and not Exit 33. So I think you spoiled that for next week.
Did I do that? Did I fuck that up? No, my bad. Sorry, guys. Candyman instead. Candyman, the classic. Is the first one Bill Condon, or is it just the second one?
No, just the second one.
Just the second one. Okay. Candyman, the classic horror film. My bad. But Exit 33 is coming, and that's also pretty crazy. Of course, you can follow us on Facebook. Check us out at facebook.com/Movie Epidemic. You can check us out on Twitter at Movie Epidemic, Instagram, the whole shebang. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Epidemic to get a hold of some of those good goods.
Wow.
Good. This episode's too long. We got to end this. Thanks, guys, so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.